Hey. Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is Haley. I am live. I'm going to take a moment and get everybody to start tuning in. We are live broadcasting right now on December 17th at 7 p.m. here on the East Coast. And we got people tuning in for our public page, our Girls of Travel Facebook group, as well as on YouTube. So a bunch of different ways that you can tune in. But I want to make sure to give a moment or two for people to find us, be able to see what's going on. And just to let you guys know that, oh, great, we've already got about 30 people over on Facebook. Perfect. So my name is Haley Woods. I'm the CEO and founder of Girls Love Travel, as you can see from all the, the logos everywhere, even in my ears. And tonight I'm going to be talking to you guys alongside Veronica Katz, the Chief Revenue Officer of Sezzle, about my financial story from immense debt all the way through to a debt-free life. And then also touching base about how Sezzle is working to help everyone out during a lot of this time of hardship as well, and moving towards a debt-free existence. So without further ado, while we get more people to tune in and see that we are on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a video. And this video is all about Sezzle. So here you go. Take it away. All right. 30 people over on Facebook first. Perfect. So. All right, guys, so a little blurb about Sezzle as you guys are tuning in, checking in. I'm trying to keep an eye out on both the page, the group, and over at YouTube. So pardon me if I'm looking at a couple of different angles just to see how everybody's doing today, and checking in on where we are found. So very excited to have you guys. So what I want to do next is I want to make sure to introduce our special guest, Veronica Katz, the Chief Revenue Officer of Sezzle. So here we go. Hi, Veronica. Hello.
Hello. I am so excited to be here with you today, Haley. Thank you so much for having me on this Facebook Live. So great to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be able to touch base and to start talking. And, you know, as we mentioned, or as I mentioned at the start, this is December 17th. I've got a wreath behind me. You know, it is the holiday season. So while we're not only talking still about these COVID times, we're also talking about the fact that a lot of stuff is going on for finances and people worried. I mean, we're in these COVID times with financial hardships, and personally, having gone through such a difficult time going from being in such immense debt to now being debt-free, I'm really excited about being able to bring this conversation to light and have more people be aware of it. Yeah, I mean, financial abuse is definitely a real thing, and I don't think it's brought up and talked about enough.
Well, so. I'm excited about it too. I have been a member of your community for a long time. My daughter, actually, I think I might have shared this with you, but my daughter introduced me to your community. We both love to travel, have had a passion for travel. We once took a 42-day trip together, just the two of us, and just.
At what point on the 42-day trip did you figure that it was a little long? 42 days is a long.
The reality is she took a 1-week break in between.
Okay.
The mom break maybe, but we love to travel. So she was a member of your community, and she said, "Mom, you have to join this community." And I think you might have had, I think we're celebrating 100,000 members at the time. So, you know,
now we're at 1.1 million. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I know. A while ago. And then I saw your story, and I loved the engagement in this community. It's a really special group, like very special. You talk about what difficult times It is right now. When I see people post, they can't have a wedding because of COVID, or they can't, and the community rallies, like, show me your pictures of Ireland because I missed there.
Yep.
It's really quite incredible. So I enjoy being a member personally. I think I've gotten more posts on things I've said on your community than I have in anything else in the world, because I'm so engaged. So I love the community. But then I learned more about you. I learned about your story. I saw your article in People magazine, and it just completely struck a chord with me. I also, different story, but I think many people, myself included, I'm sure many people in your community have been in that situation where they've encountered either predatory lending, or they've just gotten over their skis in debt, took on more than they could handle, or, people push credit. And I really resonated with your story of, it's really hard to come out of that hole and stay focused on the positives and get yourself out of it and move forward. And just so many people struggle just week to week on their paychecks. It's just an easy thing to get yourself in that situation. And I've been there personally. So I read your story. I thought it was incredibly inspirational. And at the same time, shortly thereafter, I was talking to this company that was recruiting me called Sezzle, and their entire mission is about financially empowering the next generation. And the way they do that is really being transparent and not charging interest, and helping people get the things they need now in a way that doesn't put them in debt or cause longer term damage for them. So it was just
the big thing that I was really excited about whenever I was looking up and talking to you guys and really starting this conversation with Sezzle is that, so the story, for those of you guys that are tuning in that don't know about, I was approached last year by People magazine to talk about financial situations, and I've actually used tips and tools and tricks from Susie Orman, and they were doing an article on success stories through Susie Orman's help and things that she's taught. And unbeknownst to me, it ended up being just an article on me and my story instead of a collaboration story, which I was really surprised about. But it came out, I think, around the end of January this year, so just before COVID really started to hit. And the title of it was something like, girl was left with $88,000, or boyfriend left girl with $88,000 in debt, or something like that. And so it's been talked about a lot, and I brought it up a little bit here and there in the group, or it's been talked about publicly a lot, but I've only brought it up a few times in the group. And so it's giving me the opportunity here today to be able to kind of bring it up and talk about it a little bit more, because I feel like, as mentioned before, with the fact that we're in the holiday season, but we're also in these difficult times, then it's a real difficult it's not just difficult, it's just the conversation around finances has so much shame around it. And so people keep it closed, like, an unworn outfit in the back of your closet kind of thing. It's there, it's always there, but you just don't bring it out and kind of bring it to talk about. And so this is kind of us bringing it out, talking about it, and then finding opportunities and ways to make it better for people. And with Sezzle doing the no interest and the interest-free payment plans, then that's something that I wish that I had when I was really going through everything back in 2011 to 2014, which was my main time period of 3.5 years. So, so kind of jumping in on some of the stuff that I was kind of going through is that, you want to be able to indulge, but indulge responsibly. And I think that's something else that you guys do that we want to be able to encourage, because we are a travel community. And for many of us, myself included, travel is one of those things that isn't just an indulgence, but it's something that we need to be able to keep our mind straight and to keep going forward. And it's been an extremely tough year for us to not be able to go and travel and to jump away to another destination or another place because of this. But maybe by keeping an eye on our finances, then 2021 might be our year, to really go forward again and travel again. So.
Right. I couldn't agree more. And I don't want to talk a lot about Sezzle and how it works. I want to talk more about your story because I just think it will help so many people.
Yeah.
I think to your point, people don't talk about those challenges they have, and the more you're willing to be vulnerable and share, the more it benefits your community. But I will say that Sezzle doesn't check your credit. There's no catch. It's very transparent. 4 payments over 6 weeks, there's no interest ever. So it is very different than traditional credit, just to be very clear. And they have products, and if people want to build their credit or that's something they're interested in, some people want to build their credit, some people want no parts of it. And we work with both customer the way they want us to engage with them. So that's really how it works. It helps. It's not today for bigger ticket purchases, but we will have that in our very near future. But it certainly helps to get some of the things you need today that maybe you can afford, those holiday gifts, things that you want without putting yourself in debt.
And so I just want to kind of go in a little bit about where I was, and then we can start in on some tips, because I know some people are asking about some tips and tricks, and we definitely are going to go through that. So for me, what's kind of crazy is that I'm the founder of Girls Love Travel, and yet when I was going through my most difficult financial strife, I actually didn't travel. And I think that's one of the things that kept me in this state of hopelessness and the state of despair on if it was ever gonna be better. And so I was in a very bad relationship that I thought just if I stayed longer that it would get better. I thought that it was bound to be a day that he was going to see the bills too and notice that he needed to step up. And for me, there are large blocks of time that I feel like I was a zombie. Like I just let the days turn into weeks, into months. And I did what I needed to do to pay the interest and to pay as much as I could afford on my bills. But the credit card interest rates were going up to 29% and things were still being charged on it. And I wasn't acknowledging that there was a problem. I mean, one of the things that I've said to a lot of people about, my financial story and just my story in general is that because of so much shame around finances and hopelessness, then you go in, you just kind of, you do what you need to do to get to the next day. You're not thinking that there's a real way to get out from the other side. And I'm not saying that if you're in a financial situation right now that's involved in a relationship, that means that you need to break free from your relationship. That's not anything about that. It's just that you need to start talking more. For me, I did need to get away from my ex. I needed to step away. And unfortunately, when I did, all finances, well, here's the first tip for you. Don't get in a relationship and put everything under your name. Make sure that you're keeping an eye on dividing things, because for me, I had credit cards that my ex didn't have the best credit. That was a red flag right there that I didn't take note of. But he had credit cards and he wasn't the best at getting credit cards. And so I put him under my credit card. So when I left the relationship, he just stepped away, and it was my responsibility because it was my name as a master on the card, and the card holder holds all of the responsibility. And that's something that not everybody knows, because you're in love and you think like, oh, of course they're going to pay their part. Well, sometimes they don't, and so stepping away from that, it ended up being close to $88,000.
Wow.
That I had. And
that's overwhelming. I mean, that's overwhelming. And people are struggling to make their bills week to week. That type of a debt is completely.
Because you got to imagine, I mean, that kind of debt, like even to scrape off the interest rates on that, like the interest each month is, it's a large bill in and of itself, just the interest that's accruing. And so, and for me, I can't even count how many times in my memory bank that important people in my life, like my parents, my sister, and some other key friends and stuff, asked me if I was okay. And I brushed it off, just saying, oh, I'm good. We're good. We're fine. Finances are fine. It's all good.
I didn't tell didn't tell people. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell. And you said something I think I just want to drill down on that's really important around the admitting that there's an issue, right? Because I found that once I was transparent and said I had gotten behind on bills, that people really did want to work with you, which was nice. Some companies, and those are companies that I'm still loyal to today to some degree, right? So I think that's important. You just have to you need to put a plan together, and you need to and share a little bit about your experience, because I know you had a similar experience.
When I did finally take a breath, left the relationship, started to talk openly with my parents and my sister and some other key people in my life that this is what's going on, we sat down and realized, okay, you have to find a way to make this better. And one of the ways to make it better is to take ownership. And for me personally, and again, the things that I'm saying today are the things that worked for me. It's not saying that this is going to work for any of you guys, but it's just what worked for me is that I actually joined Debtors Anonymous, which so few people know even is in existence. It's something that is part of the AA type 12-step program type things. But I admit that I did not finish all 12 steps, but I was able to go in and take what I needed to from this anonymous entity by taking accountability, learning tips and tricks, finding other people in the same situation, being able to openly talk about this kind of thing with people that have been in it. I think the hardest thing for me is that even though I started talking to my family and to people in my life, starting that dialogue with people that weren't dealing with it too was really tough. And being able to talk about it with other people that had been through it, it was just like, it was a breath of fresh air, because, I would sit into these meetings and oftentimes I wouldn't even contribute, but just to hear other people's stories, it's the reason why I'm sharing tonight. So sorry,
I told you if you teared up, you were going to.
I know. It's one of those things that, like, it's just been such a struggle. I mean, so going through the advertising of this talk, I came to the realization that this January 1st will be 10 years since I left my ex. And to think that the 10 years that I've gone through, I just really hope that by talking about this, that I can prevent other people from having to go through some of the struggles that I went through, But so through Debtors Anonymous, I learned about talking to credit card companies, talking to the people that are there holding your debt in their hands, and just saying, like, one of the biggest ones that I talked to is American Express. For me, my ex and I had over 28,000, I think, on American Express. And it had one of the highest interest rates that I was dealing with. And every month it was giving me anxiety just to see that the bill was coming in, because it wasn't going down. Right. And so I called in to American Express, and using a script that I had learned from Debtors Anonymous, basically part of the script is knowing before you go into the conversation, know how much debt it is, know what the interest rate is, know what you can pay to get better, so that you're going in with an empowering conversation and you're not sitting there saying, yeah, I'm in this situation, I don't know if I'm ever going to get out. They don't want to hear that. They want to hear, yes, I'm in this situation. I take ownership of this situation. I'm going to be responsible for what is on my bill, but I just need your help. And then they're willing to work with you. And so for me with American Express, they actually stopped they in essence kind of like stopped my account. I could still use the card if I needed to for some purchases, but they stopped it so that I wasn't getting any more interest. They put me on a payment plan that took 6 months on what I knew that I could pay each month. And by talking to them in that one phone call saved me thousands of dollars. And I would say that it would have taken me at least another 6 or 8 months to have become debt-free had I not had that one single conversation. Yeah. So that's
why I got excited when I joined Sezzle with their having that history. And thank you so much for sharing such a personal part of your life. I mean, that I'm sure there are a lot of people on the call.
I'm actually not that surprised that I got emotional from like the gate. Like I'm like people watching, they're used to it. They're used to it.
Really, yeah. I can't tell you. It means a lot, not just to me, but to your community. You're such an authentic person, and you genuinely, I know from talking to you, care so much that other people learn from things that you've gone through and avoid, not learn just how to get out of it, avoid putting themselves in that situation. And the thing that attracted me about this company is that they are a public benefits corp. And for people who don't know what that means, it means we put social good ahead of profit. And we're actually in the process of going through our B Corp certification. So we're fairly close to that. But I think we're the only payments company that does that. And this desire to not have people go through what you or I may have gone through when we were younger. I'm a mom of a 21-year-old. I don't want to see my daughter go through the same things. If I can avoid it, I'd like to see her have access, because you're starting out young in your career, and you might not have the financial means to get something you need at the moment.
It's hard too, because before my ex, I think I had like $500 in debt from time to time. You know what I mean? Like I never had anything on a credit card that I didn't think that I could pay off within a couple of months. And then I just got swept up into that situation. And I was with my ex for 8 years. And so I think one of the biggest things that we need to talk about is that it didn't take overnight for you to get into debt. It's not going to take overnight for you to get out of debt, no matter who you go with or what plan or acts or whatever you do to get there. We're in an instant gratification society right now. I mean, we're on social media right now, instant gratification. You know what I mean? Like it's everything is now. And one of the biggest things with getting to this part of being debt-free is knowing that it is a path, it is a journey, it is an entire marathon, longer than a marathon, really. It's one of those ultra marathons. And for me, it took about 3.5 years, and it would have taken a hell of a lot longer had I not really buckled down. And so I'll go into a couple of tips and stuff like that. I know we've got some people tuning in, just making sure. So I was writing down some little things so that people could take things away from this. And one of the first, especially because people tuning in for Talking Girls of Travel, is finding a way to make trade-offs. So for trade-offs, in my opinion, it's making sure that you don't skimp on the things that are going to keep you motivated, keep you enthusiastic, and keep you going during this path. So because it is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So being able to have things like for me, whenever I travel, I choose with my finances to stay. Like I'll stay with friends, I'll couch crash, I'll use the overnight subgroup that we have with GLT to stay with GLTers, or maybe I'll stay in hostels. But I opt to not spend a lot on my accommodations, because I want to spend things on going and doing like a crazy glacier landing helicopter ride thing over in New Zealand. You know what I mean? Like
I think
these things.
Right, whether it's a little splurge on a spa trip, or it's something you just will make you feel good. You obviously need to be planful, and you need to be thoughtful in paying off the debt, but you do need to also have that to keep your energy going. I remember when I was in debt, and a friend of mine, a dear friend who I will cherish forever, let me stay in her place for free because I couldn't afford rent at the time. And I was living in this bedroom. She had been divorced, and it was all the excess furniture from her bigger house that had been downsized. So I literally slept in this room on top of her dining room furniture that was in storage. And my friends and I planned this little trip to Disney. And I have to say, we timed it so we went to like every happy hour that gave out free food.
Awesome.
That's how we ate, and it was the most budget conscious Disney trip you'd ever experienced. And maybe it sounded to people a little crazy that I did it at the time, because I was really hunkering down.
Awesome, but yes.
Today, it is still one of my most favorite trips I've ever done. Even though I've obviously gone to a lot of places around the globe that are exciting. It was just the people I was with and the experience and the fun stories about the hostels or wherever you stayed, or those, how we give free meals.
When it comes to like your journey, for me, when I was in the thick of things, like, so let's jump back to 2011, broke up with my ex, had $88,000 or around there that I was tending to. And I actually had not had a passport, like, I think my passport had expired a couple of years earlier. The last time I had done an international trip was 2001. So here I am now, founder of Girls of Travel, and talking about the fact that I've presently stepped foot. It's so hard in 2020 because in 2018 and 2019, I was able to step foot on all 7 continents 2 years in a row.
Wow.
And it's crazy. It's crazy. But 2011, I hadn't even been out of the country since 2001. So it had been 10 years that I'd been out of the country. And situation came up that one of my girlfriends at the time was planning a trip to go to Asia with a couple of other friends. And she invited me along. And I had so much guilt around the idea of taking this trip. I had so much like, oh, I don't know if I should do it. I don't know if I should, I can use this money for my debt. I was justifying my joy is basically what I was doing. Is like, I was justifying the opportunities that I was going to have and saying, oh, I should be putting it somewhere else. But I got to tell you that trip, we went to Hong Kong, Cambodia, and Thailand, and we were gone for about 2 weeks. It was actually right around this time because we were there over Christmas. And while there were some negative things that happened because my passport was stolen in Chiang Mai, story for a different day, but it ignited, my reminder that how much I love travel. And to be honest, had I not taken that trip back in 2011 during all of this time, then what we have now today with Girls of Travel probably wouldn't have happened, So you need to find what it is that's going to keep you motivated. And coming back from that trip, I came back after the new year, and that gave me the passion and the perseverance to be able to step through and work and keep my head down like I needed to for months on end whenever it was really tough.
Right. Well, I think for you and for members of your community, travel is an investment in yourself, right? So
much so.
It's educational. It brings the world together closer. You get to experience different cultures, and you have a greater appreciation, I think, for what makes different people awesome, right? Like, you just get out of your silo, but it's an investment in yourself to be able to think and clear your head. And we're certainly glad that you went on that trip.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so that's kind of making trade-offs and keeping on what is going to keep you going and keep you motivated. I think another tip to make sure to keep everybody on track and find things that work for them is having an accountability partner. So for me, one of the things that I'd like to talk about is just the past, is done, and that I'm moving towards the future. And right now, I've been really fortunate that by opening up and talking about this with many different people and sharing my story and all this kind of stuff, that it never fails that at least a couple of people in the comments will tell me that they're on the same path. And then we'll start private messaging and DMing. And then when they are making payments on their loan payments and their credit cards are getting paid off, then I'm celebrating with them. And it's so great. There's actually a really great girl that I love down in Florida that she keeps letting me know whenever she's making payments on her credit cards. And every time that she sends me these messages, I'm celebrating with joy at the same time. It's so great. So I think if you have other people that you can talk to, maybe they are not going on the exact same path as you, or if maybe they've gone through something before like I have, then it just helps. And it's the same thing with Debtors Anonymous, like having people to talk to.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. And then I would say another thing too would be leveraging the payment plan. We talked about this with American Express, talked about it about, going and reaching out to your payment providers, the people that you owe money to. Big question usually comes up whenever I bring this tip up is that people that have student loan debt and medical debt, those are really difficult to talk to because they are usually a fixed interest rate that's lower than you're going to find for other plans. But whenever you're talking about a credit card plan, then that's a really good one to be able to connect and be able to talk to. And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited about hearing about Sezzle, because of the buy now, pay later opportunities. So with you guys having payment plans, then you're having accountability, like we were talking about with accountability partner, kind of bringing all the tips and tools in case you missed it before. And then also having cost-friendly alternatives to be able to approach and to be able to move towards the future.
Yeah, no, and I have to say, one of the things I've loved about the job the most, they're so maniacally focused on the consumer. I have a live feed on my desk every day of every comment every customer makes that engages with us. And I have to tell you, it's kind of like the example I gave your community about how heartwarming it is. I mean, I just had somebody today who told me, like, we helped with their Christmas. We helped them get, their kid off to school. It is really rewarding.
I love that. Yeah, that's right. There was actually a video that you guys have that I think we have queued up so that people can see. I hope that you guys can hear this music. We might have difficulty with the music, so I apologize with that, but I want to at least show this video so you guys can see it. Here we go, if you guys want to watch. Let me get
music is.
Yeah, if I can unmute the mute. Here we go. There we go. Awesome.
Thank you for sharing that. That's the exact feed I see at my desk.
I love that.
Right?
I know, and like the music just makes me like, it makes me feel good on me. It's very cool. I have a feeling like a lot of your company is like that because the other videos and stuff that I've seen are all like that same kind of like jive. Yeah, there you go.
Culture for sure.
Well, okay, so this leads into it. Since we're being a bit silly, then that leads into a really good tip that I wanted to bring up, that shit happens whenever it comes to finances. Shit happens. This year is the embodiment of that, like making sure that we're presenting ourselves in a way so that we're prepared for the things that we can't be prepared for, and making sure that we know that we're out there getting ourselves in preparation financially and emotionally for whatever else is going to come our way. I mean, let us all take a moment to close our eyes and just give a big wish that nothing like 2020 ever happens again. But the fact of the matter is that in our own personal lives, things like that might happen. Now, nothing like global pandemic, not trying to compare anything to that, but for me personally, I think back to 2001. This would have been even before I was in debt or any of that kind of stuff. I was traveling to New Zealand, and thankfully I was prepared, and I paid for the insurance for travel. And, it's making sure that you get yourself set up for success in case anything was to happen. And when I was in New Zealand, doing the adventure stuff that I love to do, I jumped off a rock cliff, landed wrong in the ocean, and had a compound burst fracture of my T12 vertebrae. And had I not paid for the insurance, been in preparation mode and making sure that while we don't like thinking about the negativity that could happen, we need to prepare for it just in case, because if I had not had insurance and I broken my back, it would have debilitated my family financially. And so I think it's really vital for us to talk about that with regards to, travel and just planning kind of things and getting yourself out, because I don't know, I compare insurance to like tipping at a restaurant. You go out to a restaurant, and if you can't afford to tip, then I advise people not to go out to a restaurant, because it's a package deal. If you go out and you travel, you need to pay for insurance. It's a package deal. And, it's going to save you in the end if anything was to happen. And I think that's the big thing that we need to kind of keep an eye on, is that with financial freedom, with becoming debt free, you're saving on your interest payments. You're saving on so much, thousands of dollars that are going into the abyss of somebody else's pocket. But for me, paying interest payments every month and barely scraping off the interest, then I wasn't able to put money into my bank account. And the moment that I became debt free, then that money that I was accustomed to paying on interest now was going into my bank account. And it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah. And I do think trying to do whatever you can to plan for contingencies that could go wrong is smart advice. But let's face it, 2020 has also taught us that, you just can't plan for everything, right? Like nobody could have planned for this. And, we didn't talk about this, Haley, but I lived in New York and I had COVID pneumonia for 6 weeks in the peak in New York. And I was pretty sick, and I, at the same time, got diagnosed with skin cancer, which seemed like a cruel joke at the time, right? And thankfully, my family and I are all okay. We're very lucky, and I feel very blessed. But, it's also a time to lean in and help others who might get hit with something that they couldn't plan for. So I'm all for planning for contingencies. But one of the things I think has been a real positive about your community is the way people rally for each other and help each other emotionally when there's something difficult going on, but also share those positive things as well. And I think I've seen great examples just in general this year of people really leaning in and trying to do a little more to help each other, which is important, particularly in this year.
Yeah, it's been a hard year for everybody. I mean, the splinter effect of how this year has affected everyone is it hasn't gone unnoticed by any single person, I think, on the planet, So, but I think that as we move forward and we find what the next steps are going to be for the world and for our personal lives, I think it's just making sure that we're keeping an eye on the plan so that we can prepare if we need to in the future as well. I really hope that, there's all these like financial advisors that I've read and that I look to that are saying you need to have this amount of money in the bank, like 4 months, 6 months stored away on how much you could do. And as a person who was in such immense debt, it was really hard to hear that. It was really hard to hear because it felt like it was grasping at the moon that I was never going to reach.
Well, you hear people talk about what you need for retirement or for it can be paralyzing.
Yeah. And so I think that it's just finding a way so that you put one foot in front of the other and you're looking at tangible goals so that you can celebrate those goals and wins that you have and move to the next goal. It's great to say, like, for me, when I was in nearly $88,000 debt, my goal was to become debt free.
Yeah.
Obviously. But along the way, I had to do different things to get there. I needed to pay off this card, pay off that card, pay off this loan. I needed to be able to do these different tangible actions and celebrate them and be thankful that I did that, instead of seeing like, it's easy whenever you have so much debt to be like, oh, I only paid a couple $100 this month. No, you need to be like, oh my gosh, I was able to pay down a couple $100 this month.
Progress.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm going to misuse this quote, but there's a quote in a Hemingway book where they talk about this phrase, slowly but suddenly, right? How'd you get in debt? Like, how they get in that much debt? Well, slowly, and then it was suddenly, but it works reverse too. How do you get out of it? Slowly but suddenly. Like those little baby steps will all of a sudden become a big step in your life. So I agree with you. You guys be focused on that. So
well, and one more thing that I just want to bring up, and then I think we'll kind of talk a little bit more about Sezzle and wrap it up for the day, is that I just wanted just so that it, keep everybody on track, is that for me, my last payment that I made was, I will never forget this, and I think that it's good to have something to reflect back on, to be able to reference as something that you've accomplished. And for me, on May 19th, 2014, I paid the last payment of my loan payment. Now I could have stretched it out and paid it later, or I could have paid it off a little bit sooner. But for me, like, my birthday was May 20th, or is May 20th. And so to pay it off on May 19th, I wrote a check. Does anybody still write checks anymore? I don't even know. Like really, I can't remember the last time that I wrote a check. But you can have something tangible that I wrote a check, and I called it a gift of freedom. And for me, that was, 2014. So it's been 6 years since I wrote that gift of freedom check. And it comes up on social media for me. It's a reminder. It's something that I can look to. It's something tangible that I can be able to hold on to and look back and say, look, I accomplished this, and where I'm at now. And I'm not going to lie, it's been hard. Once you've been in a situation like this, there is anxiety and some despair around the conversation of money that stays in your mind, and it's hard to get rid of. But by having conversations like this and finding people that you can talk to openly about finances, and not allow the cloud of shame that often happens around finances, to not allow that to continue to be there, then you can move forward,
Right.
And I wish everybody the opportunity to move forward. That's the biggest thing,
Well,
Yeah.
I think the key is to be transparent, to your point, to be accountable, to be planful, and to work with people that are transparent. And, that pick the companies to work with that are going to be transparent, good partners who want to help you succeed is really the key. And to be honest with yourself. There's
something that you guys say. You guys say something at Sezzle about transparency that's really funny. It's like awkwardly transparent or something like that. What's the phrase that you guys use? What's the one?
I don't know this one.
Yeah, there's something like, you guys are so transparent about everything that it's almost like you bring up, you make sure that everybody knows, which is one of the reasons why it feels so comfortable to be able to talk to you guys.
It's very true. We are incredibly transparent in our own organization. I don't think I've worked somewhere where people knew so much about me, or I know so much about them. But it's great. It's great. So I do want to ask you a non-financial question. I'm kind of curious. So being a member of the community, I think we're all finding our new normal. I think a lot of people are busting at the seams to be able to travel again. And I'm curious, two things. What do you want to, and you can answer them in either order, what do you want to do the most after the vaccine and COVID is behind us from a travel perspective? And is there any new normal or things that you've kind of done to keep your sanity while you haven't been traveling as much?
I mean, I'm here with GLT Mom. I'm here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, for those of you guys that don't know. And so I have not been in one place for this long since 2001. So I think this is the longest that I've been. And I've told people that I openly will tell everybody that this is not like a personal Guinness Book of World Record type thing that I ever want to beat. I'm fine with this being the longest that I've ever been in one place and not have this happen again. I'm ready to go. I want to go and do something else. As for what I want to do, my head and my heart keeps getting wrapped around the fact that we at Girls of Travel had to cancel a gathering that we were doing in March. And I just can't wait for us. I don't think that the iteration, like the new version, is going to be the exact same, but we had planned the end of March that Girls of Travel was going to do a New Orleans getaway weekend, and
Oh, wow.
we were overtaking a hostel that holds like 100 people, and it was pretty much sold out to all GLT. I think they kept some, it was funny, they kept some rooms because they had to keep some in case some guys needed to come in, and we were all joking about like, we feel sorry for these guys being in a hostel with like 100 GLTers. But
guys.
I really want, Danielle, I see your comment that you wish that you were at New Orleans too. Yeah, so the New Orleans thing, not only was it going to be between locals and out-of-towners, we were planning on having about 150 GLTers gather, but there were 18 GLTers that had put down a financial deposit to get the Girls of Travel logo as a tattoo on their body, and it's just like, that would have been just like crazy to me. So I think the biggest thing is that to keep my sanity, I've been very thankful with these time hops that we have on Facebook to see where I was over the last few years and be grateful and accepting of the fact that I can't move around right now, but at least I did travel the world as much as I did in the past. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's reminding me that I don't need to really be traveling to places as much in the future. I just really want to keep traveling to people, keep traveling to GLTers. So I can't wait to be able to go and meet up, and not only meet up, but I can't wait until it's socially acceptable to hug people again.
Oh my gosh. Yes, me too.
That's going to be the best, is to be able to like run up and be like, I've not met you in person. I only know you through the internet. Like, let's hug, it's gonna be great. So what about you? What are you thinking about? Because your family loves to travel too. So where do you?
Sure, we do. Well, I'll say my coping thing during this has been, my mom had a significant birthday, and I got this idea because we couldn't all get together with her. And I went and found all these pictures of her through the years, her high school picture, childhood pictures she was not so happy that I found, but I turned them all into postcards. And I thought, well, I'm not traveling. Because I sent postcards, and I sent them out in packages to every person I knew, pre-stamped and addressed it, and said, would you do me a favor and, write my mom personal messages the month of her birthday. And I started thinking, this would be really fun. I made it a project with my family. We took old pictures from old trips, but then we started finding beautiful things that were right in our backyard, taking pictures of them and turning them into postcards. So I probably send out, 50 or 60 postcards to people, so that people in my family, my uncle who's 80 and my great aunt, that they all feel connected, and I'm keeping the post office in business right now, I think. But it's been a lot of fun for my family. Not as fun as traveling, but it's been fun.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be an interesting year next year to see like how things start to evolve and when we can start to feel comfortable again. So, but for the time being, I think conversations like this and getting our mind to be able to think about things that are tangible that we can do right now from home, I think is really good, so that we can lead ourselves to success when it's more acceptable for us to go out and explore.
I've had 2 trips canceled to Bonaire, so I think I'm going to go to Bonaire when I can travel. And because of COVID, it got canceled. And my daughter got the travel bug. She's one of about 60 kids trying to get 3 business degrees at the same time from 3 different universities globally. Yeah. So she goes to a school in LA, USC. She goes to the University of Science and Technology in Hong Kong, and she goes to Bocconi in Italy.
Wow.
So right now, she's supposed to be in Italy, but she had to come home. So I would love to see the vaccine come out and get to go visit her in school in Italy. So that's probably 2 trips I want to make first.
Yeah, because going over to Italy and do like a pasta making class from the Italians would be just ideal. Well, and that's one of the things that we show here.
Yeah. But no, I'm looking forward to getting to go out there. Maybe the summer. That would be nice.
Yeah. Well, Veronica, I appreciate you staying on and tuning in. For everybody that's been tuning in on Facebook page, and then we're going to be streaming onto our YouTube channel. So really appreciate being able to talk to Sezzle, and looking forward to how we can work together and talk about Sezzle more in the future as the travel industry starts to open up and people are planning for some of their trips. I know that you have a lot of companies and affiliates that are working in the travel space, and we'd love to have you come back and talk about that more whenever it's more acceptable. Talk about some of this travel planning.
Yeah. We are expanding heavily into travel. I think it's an area that we want to lean into in a difficult time that other people might not be leaning into travel. But we are more importantly, Haley, we are so proud to partner with you and your community. I mean, I've been a member, and people know that have seen me online, but I've been a member for a long time. And really, your story is so motivational, and I really appreciate you sharing it.
I appreciate it. I think if we can just be more open and less in shame in the shadows of talking about finances and financials. There's a statistic that I put on one of the posts just to lead people into this conversation today that, I was in a financially abusive relationship. I'm a survivor of that relationship. And for most people, financial abuse gets just pushed to the side, yet it is a part of 99% of all domestic violence situations. It is there, it is present. And if you feel like somebody in your life might be going through something like this, just be there for them, just be there for them and be able to be there to be by their side. And they might not be able to open up about it right away because there's so much shame around it that saying I'm fine is the easiest way just to move forward. But, when they're open to talking to you about finances, please just make sure that you are listening and you're not dismissing, because I think one of the hardest things is that because it seems like everyone, no matter what their situation in life is, goes through financial struggles at some point or another. And so sometimes whenever we use our voice to say, I need help, I'm going through some stuff with finances, then people dismiss it by saying, oh yeah, we all go through that. You'll get through it. You'll be fine. And say that this is kind of like a part of life. But the problem is that it shouldn't be a part of life that we keep silent about. And so I really hope that some of the tips and just opening the dialogue more than anything is creating an opportunity for comfort and like a warm hug for somebody that might need it. So I just want to kind of close things out and just let everybody know that I welcome any conversations about financial struggles into my DMs. So if you guys ever have a problem or need to talk about it, I would love to be able to, I'm not going to say that I'm going to know the answer for you, but I would welcome it if you ever needed to talk. So I appreciate it. And I appreciate you, Veronica, for taking the time today. All right.
We're looking forward to having you in our channels to talk to our Sezzlers. And thank you for inviting me. And more so, thank you for sharing. And I want to wish everybody a happy holiday too.
Oh, holiday. Do you want to say one more thing? Do you want to tell one more?
This is kind of fun. We're doing a promotion around the holidays. We'll be doing promotions all year. So depending on when you watch this, because I know you'll be taping it and showing it, but we'll be doing promotions all throughout the year. But this one's kind of fun. This has been a really tough year for most. And we didn't want to let the holidays go down without a fight. So it's a very nostalgic 90s feel kind of game that you can play. When you download our app or when you go to our site, there's a bunch of different ways to play. You get these game cards, and many of them are instant wins where you can win prizes or money, or you can win discounts on great things that you're looking for. And in addition to that, if you collect the right 4 combination of pieces, you can win $20,000. So
$20,000 giveaway. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. All right. Thank you so much again for your time, Veronica. Thank you to Sezzle, and thank you to everybody that tuned in and took the time to watch this today. So we will be saving this video. So if you didn't see it all, then we'll be able to have you watch it later. So thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one. Bye, everybody. Yay!